Like I said, praise the Lord to everyone.
Praise the Lord.
Getting ready to begin our Sunday morning Sunday school lesson. Today's lesson is entitled Family, Distinct and Obedient. And it's taken from Deuteronomy, the 6th chapter, verses 3 through 9, and Matthew, the 19th chapter, verses 3 through 9. And we have two outlines. The first outline is receiving the law. That's in Deuteronomy, the 6th chapter, verses 3 through 9. And the second outline is applying the law, and that's in Matthew 3 through 9. Okay, we're going to begin with Deuteronomy in the Old Testament here. And this is one of the books of Moses, Deuteronomy. And Deuteronomy is referred to as the second law, or the law restated. And when it says the law restated, if you're thinking about the law restated, it's like at this point, Moses is given one of his last discourses. Now, just before they entered the promised land. Now Moses didn't enter the promised land, but the children of Israel did. And this really, you might say, this is the second generation of people of Israel, Israelites. That's why it's oftentimes referred to as the second law, or the restatement of law. Because and some people, some of maybe the elder people may have heard this before, but in some cases there may be a generation of Israelites that have never heard this. Well, I mean, in this format, I mean, they have heard it because we're going to talk about the fact that it should have been passed on from generation to generation. But maybe some people missed it. But this is referred to as the second law. That is Deuteronomy. The book of Deuteronomy is referred to the second law, or the law restated. And as I said, the Israelites is about to enter into the promised land. They haven't, I guess it's considered in the plains or whatever, just before crossing over the Red Sea into the promised land. And we're going to start there in the third verse of Deuteronomy, the 6th chapter. It said, we're just going to read the first verse first. Okay, hear, therefore, O Israel, observe and to do. Now there's a semicolon there, so we can stop right there. We can pause, as they say. Okay, it says, now, again, this is Moses speaking to the children of Israel before they get ready to go into the promised land. He said, observe it. Now, and I noticed that, observe and to do it. Now, we can have a policy. We can have a policy written up. And the second question, the follow-up question, do you observe it? Do you follow it by the letter? So it's one thing to observe it. You know, we can have a safety movie, and they watched the movie. Oh yeah, they watched the movie because they signed the sheet that they watched the movie. But did they follow through? So I picked up on that. To observe is one thing. You can observe and not do, but it said to observe and to do. So that's the important thing. Yeah, it's okay to observe it, but you need to follow through. And this is what Moses is saying. We want to observe these commandments, and we want to follow through. Okay, that it may be well with thee, and that ye may increase mightily. So he's talking about benefits. Okay, basically, when you get over in the land, the commandment, and that it may be beneficial for you, you may increase. So the subheading is a blessing for obedience. So obedience blessings follow obedience. That's the idea. The blessings follow obedience. If you don't obey, you don't expect nothing. So the blessings follow obedience. So this is the pattern. He said that that it may be well with thee and they may increase. So if you're obedient, then you can expect a blessing. As the Lord God of thy father had promised thee in the land that flowed with milk and honey. This is talking about the promised land. It's saying, okay, because when they get over there, there's going to be nation. Now, okay, well, the next verse is gonna let's read the next verse and I'll bring that point out, which is the fourth verse.
Do you want to finish reading 3?
Yeah, go ahead.
As the Lord God of thy fathers had promised thee in the land that floweth with milk and honey.
Okay, promised land, right, okay.
Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord.
Okay, right there. So when you get over there, the people are going to be worshiping many gods. So that's the warning there. So we don't get over there looking at it, oh, okay, yeah, they're doing that. And no. Don't follow that. When you get there, there's going to be, so the Lord is one God. So you worship the one God. Don't follow that pattern, because they worship multiple gods, God for everything. Okay, so remember the one God. The Lord your God is one Lord, not multiple. One. Okay. Let's go to 5.
And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thine heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might.
That's all there is to it. That's all there is. If you love, if we're talking about total love, I mean, it's like, partial love, whatever. Well, I'm not totally committed. It says here, with all thine heart, soul, and might. Okay. So basically, the foundation for loving others is loving God. Loving God. Okay. And we talked about it before. Okay. If you don't love, the scripture says it, and we talked about it too. If you don't love, you don't know God.
Right.
You don't know God, because God is love. I mean, how can you? I mean, you just don't know God. You don't know God if you don't have love. And it's how do you show love for? What's one way to show love for others? I mean, for God.
Showing love to one another.
Love for one another. And the scripture tells us, okay, how can you say you love God, never seen, and you don't love your brother? You gotta love your brother. So that is the foundation. Okay, so total love to God. So if you love God, you're gonna love everybody else. That's evidence or proof. That's the evidence. I mean, that's what the court looks for. It looks for evidence, proof that what you say is true. And if you don't love others, and that is the foundation. The foundation of loving God is loving others. That is the foundation. Okay. 6.
And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thine heart.
Okay, and that's the thing. It's just like I often think about it this way. I'm driving through Myers or Walmart or whatever. Some people may not. Myers may not be in every place. I said, what is he talking about, Myers? You got Walmart all over. Okay, you driving through our mall or whatever, and you see a stop sign. Now, like, I see people, they don't stop. Now, I mean, you could make an argument, well, it's 11 o'clock at night, the store is closed, why stop? I mean, if it's, a lot of times, I'll stop, because why? If it's in your heart to do something, this is the point. If it's in your heart to do it, you do it when no one else is watching. That's the key. If it's not in your heart, you look around. Well, nobody watching. I mean, that's the idea. When it's in your heart to do something, you will do it when no one is around. That's the essence there, is to get this in your heart. That they used to say, well, in school, well, get your thinking caps on. Let this settle in. Get it down in your heart. And once I think, there's one scripture say, train up a child in the way it should go, when it shall not depart from that. I mean, is to get that in your heart. And there's some things, some people that may not be, I'll just say, devout Christians. Okay, maybe they have some, background, religious upbringing, I'll use it that way. And and I've heard people say, there are just some things that they will not do.
Yeah.
They won't do it. I mean, they're not a devout Christian, but it's like, oh no, I wouldn't do that. I'm not going to do that, because it's in their heart not to do it. Everybody else is doing it, but no, I'm just not going to do that. I'm not going to do that, because it's in their heart. It's in their heart, and that's the thing. And let's go to 7 here.
And thou shalt teach them diligently into thy children, and shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up.
Okay, now, I was just talking about this weekend about rights and duties. Okay, now, and I made a point that in society we have rights and duties, and this here is, let's say, thou shalt teach them. That's a duty that's imposed here. The law imposes a duty. And what is that duty? The duty that you should teach these laws to the next generation. Now, when there's a duty, somebody's got a right. If rights and duties don't exist by themselves. If I say I have a right to X, somebody owe me a duty. If you say, well, I have a duty, somebody have a right. So the duty of the prior generation is to teach that. Now, if it's not done, what that mean? There's a breach. Somebody has failed to exercise their obligation. And their obligation that they have. And this obligation is owed to the next generation. And we know the results of that. Why? But here's the other point about that as well. Even though the prior generation failed in their duty, that doesn't necessarily exempt you. Because at some point in time, you're going to become aware. And once you become aware, that's your response. That's the burden lies on you. It's just like a child may say, well, my parents never took me to Sunday school. My parents never taught me anything about the Word of God. Now I'm an adult. Well, I mean, they live out their adult life, and they go before the Lord and say, why didn't you do it? Well, my parents didn't do it. They failed in that duty. Well, yeah, your parents did. I'm going to get them. They're responsible. But now you're responsible because you knew, or you should have known. Once you became aware of it, you should have followed. Now, your parent, you can't use that as an excuse. Go ahead.
And I know you know this as a lawyer. Mm-hmm. In the law, there's an act where you can commit something. Mm-hmm. You can be guilty by commission or omission.
Right.
You should have acted and you didn't.
And you didn't. Yeah, right. That's exactly the point I made. They had a duty to teach this. They failed in that duty. That's true. They're going to be held responsible for that. But once you become aware, once you have knowledge yourself, you're going to be required. Well, let's put it this way: you're going to be found guilty on your own accord. It's like a child. A 5-year-old can commit an act. Are they going to go to prison? No. They're not going to go to prison. They can commit the act. And we got kids firing guns, right? And injure someone. You say a kid can't injure someone. Yeah, they can. They can commit the act, but they can't be found guilty. Because the law says until you reach a certain age, we're not going to hold you accountable. But once you reach that certain age, you get 17, 18 years old, even 14 years old, you can go to adult prison. You can go to adult prison. So the point is, yes, they have a duty to teach, but you also have a duty once you become aware. So this is to be taught everywhere, in the house, when you're walking, when you're lying down, everywhere. There's no place when you lie down and when you get up. Is that obligation, that duty to teach this a law that, and again, there's no excuse. You're not going to have an excuse, and also the law says ignorance is no excuse. You drive without a license. Well, officer, I didn't know I had to have a license. You either knew or you should have known. So the duty there is it says external repetition is to be repeated, and it's also to be done diligently, and that's the idea of consistency as well. Diligent is not hit or miss every now and then. I mean, if you diligent in something, consistency. It says, okay, you observe these laws and you do them. How do you do it? Sporadically? No. Consistently. You do it diligently. You diligently follow these particular laws. And diligent is important. And let's do the last two verses of this section here. That's 8 and 9, which just really is a continuation there.
Okay. And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thy hand, and they shall be as frontlets between thine eyes, and thou shalt write them upon the posts of thy house and thy gates.
So the idea here, I mean, you can see it's not a situation where it's not applied evenly. It should be a clear focus on the particular laws. Now, when we go to the next section, it says here that receiving the law, and this is the second law in the second generation, receiving the law and how they should be observed, how they should be carried out, how they should be done. Okay, now the next section, it takes us into the New Testament. And this talks about, this is Jesus teaching on marriage.
Yeah, I want
Go
to
ahead.
ask a question here.
Okay.
I looked it up because I want to know,
Mm-hmm.
whenever I see a word I'm not familiar with, I have to look it up.
Mm-hmm.
I know you did too. Can you tell them what the frontlets are?
Well,
In verse number 8.
okay, now I'm thinking about shall be as frontlets before thine eyes. I'm thinking about like visuals. I mean, like maybe you do. I'm thinking of a what do they call them, slides or something like that.
Yeah, they were like bands or garments worn on their forehead.
Okay.
So they were wearing them so you could see.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's what that frontlets is.
Right.
Frontlet, between the eyes. So they were literally had something. It says frontlets are bands, fillets, or ornaments worn on the forehead, most notably referring to the Jewish as a symbol of public commitment to divine law.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is that? Yeah. That's excellent there. Okay. As between thine eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So everywhere you go, you make that that display is there. Okay. Now let's go into the second outline here. Is applying the law is talking about God's plan for marriage. Now a little bit of history here. Kind of setting it up. Now, if we think about this section here, if you play chess, I thought about it like this: the setup. That would be my idea here. Is the setup. Now, we have a situation here that, and you remember John the Baptist. John the Baptist was beheaded by Herod because he was actually a spokesperson, but he condemned Herod's marriage because he said, what you have done was unlawful. Now, let's bring it back, dial it back a notch. Now, Herod was not a Jew. Herod, he was not a Jew. But Rome had appointed him to be the ruler over the Jewish people. Rome had appointed him, and Rome called him the king of the Jews. You know, we know about Jesus, but so by Herod being the ruler or the king of the Jewish people, he was required. Herod was required to uphold Jewish laws and customs. He was required to uphold Jewish laws and customs. So John the Baptist had criticized Herod because he married his brother's wife, and because of that, he said, well, Herod had done an unlawful thing. Again, like I said, Herod was not a Jew, but he was the ruler over the Jewish people, over that area. So he was required to uphold the Jewish laws and customs. And John the Baptist said, what you have done is unlawful. You've taken your brother's wife for marriage. Now, so Herod had to uphold Jewish laws and customs. So now there's one narrow exception about marrying your brother's wife under Jewish law, and that was that if your brother had died childless, without child, you was actually required to do so. If your brother had died without children. But Herod, actually it was another ground. Herod's wife filed for divorce against him. Okay, now under the law, there was no provision where the wife could do that. So that was wrong. Now she legally got it on she was a Roman citizen, she got it under Roman law. Okay, and here's the setup. They setting up Jesus. Okay, because John was teaching strict according to the Jewish law. Herod has done an unlawful thing. And secondly, because so the narrow exception that he could marry his brother's wife if she was without child, but was childless. But under no conditions could he marry his brother's wife while his brother was alive. Under no condition could that happen while his brother was alive, under Jewish law. So the point is, Herod was not a Jew, but he was required to uphold the Jewish laws and customs. And John the Baptist was speaking strictly according to the law. Your marriage is unlawful on those grounds. So like I said, there was a small legal exception, is that your brother was childless. You was required to marry your brother's wife. But if your brother was alive, under no condition. But if your brother had children, then again under no condition. So the setup is this. Let's read that. The Herodians. Remember, I think we had a lesson a little bit before where the Herodians and the Pharisees teamed up against Jesus. And let's look at verse 3. And let's see the test. They tempting Jesus. Read verse 3.
The Pharisees also came unto him, tempting him, and saying unto him, is it lawful for a man to put away his wife for every cause?
Okay, for any reason. Any reason. Okay, go ahead.
I know you, since we're getting to this, and I know you're a constitutional law expert, I don't know if you're an expert in biblical Jewish Mosaic law, but I have encountered women who are oneness within our group who say that it's okay for them to file for a divorce because there was no provision for women to file for a divorce under Mosaic law. And I know
Yeah, maybe.
verses come up about divorce and putting away.
Yeah.
And I'm not an expert.
Right, yeah.
I had questions on that.
Yeah. Well, that was just one of the reasons why. The setup is this. John the Baptist was beheaded because he criticized Herod on that issue. In fact, first of all, the grounds was illegal, and second of all, it was immoral. It was incestuous relationship because, number one, the brother was still alive. That was unlawful. And if the brother if there were children, it would have still been okay. So there was two grounds, which Moses, which
My question is about women saying that it's okay for them to file for a divorce now in
Yeah. I'm just taking you back. I'm just taking you back to where they got this is the point. John was beheaded because he opposed Herod's action. So they was trying to say Jesus, okay, if Jesus, does he follow the strict teachings that John did? If he did, therefore, he should be beheaded. So they was trying to get him. So they was trying to trap him and say, well, okay, let me see where these were. You got the Herodians and the Pharisees. They both was against it. So they was, well, do you observe, you follow them? So this was the setup for Jesus. And the point is that he went back to the original, God's original plan for marriage. But in his analysis, and we're going to read, in his analysis, he did state the law correctly because he identified the one exception that Moses did. But let's go through this and we can look at that question later if we have some time. Okay, let's go to so every cause means for any reason. Any reason. That's basically what that is. Let's go to 4.
And he answered and said unto them, have ye not read that he which made them at the beginning made them male and female?
Okay, so basically he takes them back to the original plan of God for marriage. And marriage basically is a divine creation by God. Now this was the first marriage. This is the original design for marriage. I mean, he didn't, well, okay, but this he didn't jump right in. He said, this is God ordained. Marriage is God ordained. And if you think about it, that was the thing. First thing is God ordained. Okay, let's go 5.
And said, for this cause shall a man leave father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife, and thy twine shall be one
Go ahead and read 6 as well.
Wherefore there are no more twine, but one flesh. What therefore God hath joined together, let no man put asunder.
Okay, so marriage is God's original design. It's not man's creation. It's not man's creation, it's God's design. And from the beginning, the original plan, if you want to put it this way, the original plan, God's original plan was that it would be, okay, you can even look at it, we're not going to dwell on it a lot, male and female. That's the original plan. I mean, we have all kind of stuff now. But God's original plan was for male and female. That was it. And it was to be a permanent situation. That's what, in other words, let's start at square 1 instead of starting at square 15. God's original plan, man and woman, and to be permanent.
Just to say, from my understanding, the word marriage means the joining of a male and a female,
Yeah.
or a man and woman. So to say,
Clearly God's plan.
so to say that there is marriage between anything else besides a man and a woman is a fallacy. It's not-
Yeah. It's God's creation. It's God's creation.
It's
Yeah.
like saying dry ocean.
Yeah. I mean, people take words and use them however they want, but God's plan is God's plan, male and female, and permanent. That's it. I mean, you can, and like I say, I call it the duck test. I mean, you can call it whatever you want. That's a cow. If it walks like a duck and have web feet, it's a duck. I don't care what you call it. It is what it is. And that's what Jesus is saying. It is what it is. Okay? And this is God's plan. So, okay, so this is God's creation, not man's plan, and God's creation. From the beginning, it was not so. This is where it was in the beginning. Now, let's do 7 and 8. Actually, yeah, 7 and 8.
They say unto him, why did Moses then command to give a writing of divorcement and to put her away? Jesus said unto them, Moses, because of the hardness of your hearts, suffered you to put away your wives, but from the beginning it was not so.
It was not so. I mean, he's the point is, like I said, they were trying to set Jesus up. And this is how he handled it. Okay, let's take back to the original plan and how this transferred. Now, if you think about this, it says, for the hardness of your heart. Now, the first marriage, if you think about this, the first marriage performed by God, God's original plan, was that before or after the fall? Right. So the change, so after the fall and sin entered into the picture. This is basically, that's the whole analysis. God's plan, man and woman, okay, for life, and that's the way it was. Okay? But because I'll just use this here. Because of sin, Moses allowed it, and you did you read 9?
No, sir.
Okay, go read 9.
And I say unto you, whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication, and shall marry another, committeth adultery, and whosoever marrieth her which is put away doeth commit adultery. Okay, so like I said, they were trying to see how do you align? Do you align with John the Baptist's teaching? Because that's why we beheaded him. I mean, isn't that the reason? He opposed Herod's situation. He said, "You wrong. It's unlawful what you've done," and they beheaded him for that. And they wanted to say, "Well, yeah, he's one of them. He believed that way too. Go and get him." And so they wanted to see it because, like I said, the Herodians and that was Herod's idea. That was, they aligned with them, and the Pharisees teamed up with them, and not necessarily in this case it didn't say, but the Pharisees, they was always trying to get him. They say, because of the hardness of their heart, because of sin, God allowed this one exception, except for sexual immorality. That is the reason that the law provided, sexual immorality. Any cause other than that, the marriage is still on. God doesn't, because it's God's creation, God doesn't honor any other arrangement except be fornication or sexual immorality. And the takeaway here is that God don't take marriage lightly. Right. He takes it serious. It's a serious matter. And people say, I know you can go to the courthouse, the clerk, or whatever, and get married, but the marriage is before God. It's honored before God. It's held up before God. That's because it's God's original plan. It's God's original design. Like I say, you got all types of, I guess, I don't know of any marriage to anything that's not human, but whatever. It's not a marriage.
Right.
It can be a union.
Or union.
Marriage,
Right.
It's only between a man and a woman.
Right.
Period. I believe that.
Right. And it's God ordained. It's God ordained.
You can call it whatever it is, but it's not.
Yeah, it's a creation of God. It's just like the idea of the rainbow.
Yeah.
The rainbow. You know what that's a sign? Well, they got, now it's what? Everything. Unity, all this. I mean, they're changing it. But like I said, it is what it is. It is what it is.
But with God, it remains as that covenant.
Exactly.
They can call it what they want, but
Right.
it's God's covenant with us that he would not destroy the earth again with
Right.
fire the next time. And that's why someone had approached me about doing a ceremony. I said, I can't do it.
Right.
I can't do it. It didn't take me long to say, you gotta go somewhere else.
Right.
I'm not gonna fix that.
Right, right, and the idea is it's almost like, and we almost have time. It's almost like a person, you can call it whatever, you know, you want to do. You know, they call it unions, whatever, and they even call it marriage. It's not a. You can look at what else, a sham marriage. It's not because marriage was originated by God. The first marriage, Adam and Eve. You know, that was the first marriage. But again, that was before the fall. But after that, then the exception. And Jesus recognized the exception. So again, that was a setup. It was a setup. And you might say, well, why did they pick this question? It was to try to set up, you see the setup? To get Jesus, and they've been trying all the time. And they said, well, let's ask him about this. No, let's ask him about marriage, so we can see if we can get him to say this. And because going against Herod, again, that's your head too. That's your head too, because that was the fact of the matter. And John was correct in the sense, as I said, Herod was not a Jew, but he was required to uphold Jewish laws and customs because Rome had appointed him king of the Jews. He was the king of that region. So he was required to do that. And John the Baptist, what you done was unlawful, and that was the reason. And they used this issue of marriage and divorce to test Jesus and see where he stood so they could find some accusation, because they had been all the time trying to, and this is just another example of the Pharisees coming to try to get Jesus, as they say, on record. We have on record to saying this, and thereby we can put him away, which they eventually did, but not on this issue here. And that's our lesson today. The family, distinct and obedient. Okay, we'd like to thank you for watching. We'll ask you to join us next week.